Yo, what's good? What's going on, everybody? I have not been live in a while. I really hope that y'all can hear me. I'm gonna be with y'all for probably about, I don't even know, 30 minutes to an hour. It's been a while. It's been a while, chat. So I know this video probably I have not been live in like a year. So I know um I do not expect a lot of eyeballs on this video. YouTube is not going to push this in the algorithm because I'm not somebody that goes live consistently, obviously. I haven't posted a video or went live in a year. So I think the last time I went live was, I mean, the video would be somewhere on my page. But I think the last time I went live would have been, shoot, it was like February or March of last year, I think. So, anyways, good to be back with y'all. Like I said, YouTube's probably not gonna push this because it's, oh, I see I'm buffering. That is not a good thing. That's not a good thing. I don't like that. Got to make sure we fix that buffering. But okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, it's been a while. I got a lot to say. The last time I spoke, we spoke about, I was talking about my story, and then I went ghost. I went quiet on y'all. As always, things happen, right? Life happens. It's not something I prioritize. I like streaming as it's more of a hobby, obviously. It's not really a hobby that's big on my to-do list. It's not big on my priority list, because clearly if it was, I'd be doing it more. Excuse me. But yeah, man, it's so many times I want to go live, but between work, I own and operate my own business. So between work and being a full-time parent, you know what I mean? It's just life. It's just not something I prioritize. As fun as I find it, I just don't, like I said, y'all know, I ain't got to tell y'all because I don't prioritize it, but I'm going to speak to y'all. I don't care if it's one person watching. I don't care if it's 10. I don't care if it's 1,000. I got to speak to y'all like I got a full audience, right? I can do my best work that way. So I'm going to speak to y'all like I got a full audience. I don't know why this is buffering, because I have a computer now. It seems like my laptop was better for this, but the buffering thing is just kind of frustrating me. I don't know why I am buffering, and I can't figure that out because I have a really good computer now. Before I was going live off my laptop. It was a Surface Pro. It was one of them small laptops. And it would be fine if I had it plugged up. It would buffer if I didn't have it plugged up. So that's a little frustrating, but we're gonna work through it, y'all. Like I said, I plan on being with y'all till about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's 8:29 right now. We've been live for 3 minutes. So like I said, I plan on being live 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. Anyways, welcome in, chat. Welcome in. Everybody's gonna watch this live. Everybody that's gonna watch it later. One of the things that I want to say at the onstart before we get going on the topic, because obviously we're gonna cover Jayden Ivey. Might go into some other things, depends on how long this Jayden Ivey topic takes, but I'm gonna get my take on it, get my feedback on it, because if y'all watch any of my videos, y'all know I don't stand for the hypocrisy, and I'm seeing that right now. That's probably a word I use a lot, is hypocrisy, hypocrite, that kind of stuff. I don't like it. That kind of stuff frustrates me, right? The hypocrisy, just in life in general. Like I think everybody can be guilty at one point or another of hypocriting on a particular topic, hypocriting at a particular time in their life. But I find it incumbent upon myself to call that out. Sometimes some people may call me the hypocrite police, and I have to police myself in the process, right? Because like I said, anybody can fall victim. Or I won't even say victim, but I use it as a figure of speech, kind of tongue in cheek. Anybody can fall victim to being the hypocrite. So I try to pride myself on not being that. So if y'all catch me hypocrite, and say it, but don't say it from a place of emotion, because I'm not going to respect it. Say it from a place of logic, and we're always ready and able to clearly articulate your point if you have a point to make with me. I don't mind bringing anybody up here on stream for the most part, and so long as I know it's not going to really be contentious and that we can have a logical conversation. I really don't enjoy having conversations with people who I don't deem logical. It's kind of annoying, actually. So if you're a logical person, you're capable of having a logical debate, even if you're not the smartest person in the world. I say that respectfully, I guess. But even if you're not the smartest person in the world, if you're not capable of having a debate or a logical conversation, then please, I mean, don't try to come on here because I might end up insulting you and I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Anyways, but yeah, like I said, there's a couple housekeeping things I want to get out the way. The last few times y'all seen me, um, I think I was doing a lot to be careful about how I speak, making sure I don't ostracize unintentionally, because I know I wouldn't do it intentionally anyways, but making sure I don't intentionally ostracize any particular person, any particular group. And that's still my my approach, right? Like I don't want to ostracize nobody, but I found myself behaving somewhat in a manner that is just not actually um it's not exactly authentically who I am. And we hear a lot, especially in the black community, about being unapologetically. I hate that term, unapologetically myself. I'm not gonna say I hate it, but it's a very annoying term. But we hear that in the black community a lot, being unapologetically yourself. And so I'm gonna take it upon myself to use that to my advantage. I'm gonna be unapologetically me, and whoever chooses to watch my content, then they like the real me and can identify with what the real me is saying. You don't have to like me, but if you're objective, you'll find truth in what I'm saying, so long as there's truth to be found. And so I'm not going to have as big as focus on being. I'm going to be politically correct as I can, only because again I still have to work and take care of a child that I by myself provide for, and so I don't want my child to ever have to really pay for my sins. But I got my dog in the background. Russ. But I don't want my son to have to. I can't even say my sins again. That's a figure of speech. I don't want my son to have to pay for my sins as a figure of speech as it pertains to the world, because I know if I'm not careful with what I say, I will be canceled very quickly. And I'm not trying to get canceled. I don't want to get canceled, but at some point, hopefully, my real estate, as I become a real estate investor and own properties. I know that sounds good in theory, but it's I have the kind of a small term plan to get there. We'll see if I can get into fruition. But as the as I inch closer to becoming more of self-sustainable by real estate, then I can be more free to say what I want. And it's a shame in America that I have to. I was just talking to my friend, one of my homeboys about this. My boy Joe, we were actually texting about it, and I was just like, man, like being in real estate is one of them type of things that no matter what you say, you're in a non-cancel. I'm not gonna say that because I'm a butcher it. You're in a path that you can't be canceled um once you start doing real estate, right? You kind of can't be canceled. So um yeah, y'all bear with me a second. I'm trying to see something really fast, but let me see here. Anyways, but yeah, you kind of can't be canceled. I'm sorry, I'm on my laptop too trying to do something, but they can't cancel you. They can't really cancel you um when you have real estate, because and the reason I say that is because the reason why I say they can't cancel you when you have real estate is because people always need somewhere to live. Even if they hate your guts, even if someone thinks that you hate them, if everybody always needs somewhere to live. And if you have housing that's available in an area that somebody wants to live in, or an area that someone needs to live in, um then where's my phone at? If you have real estate or a property in an area that someone needs to live in, then yes, regardless of what your personal beliefs are, political beliefs are, religious beliefs are, they're still going to buy from you or rent from you, because at the end of the day, they have to have somewhere to lay their head down, that they're comfortable at, right? They have to be comfortable there, and they have to be able to afford it. So you can't be canceled when you're in real estate. They can cancel you everywhere else, but they can't cancel you in real estate. So um that is make sure that's something that I want to be able to do for myself, is get into real estate, because I'm somebody with a very strong opinion. I think a lot of people are very opinionated, but I'm somebody that doesn't like to be controlled at all. I don't like having being shackled. It's just it's a little frustrating when people try to shackle you. So I don't want to be shackled. And when you I know I'm rambling on because I'm kind of distracted. So sorry about that. Um, uh, Sorry guys, I'm just posting to Facebook real quick. Let me see. Anyways, um, Let me see. Sorry, one more thing. Entire year. So uh sorry guys, just bear with me. Edit on save that. Okay, cool. All right, back to what I was saying. Anyways, point is, yes, I want to get into real estate because I don't want people to be able to cancel me. That's a big deal to me. Well, if you you can, like I said, you can't cancel me if I'm in real estate. You just can't. So, I want to be able to get into real estate to make sure that I'm not cancelable. But anyways, so yeah, like I said, I just plan on being true to myself. I can't say plan on it. I'm going to be true to myself in these lives. Um, I know it's hard to say, or it's hard to receive, but just don't take things personal, man. I know some things I say, a tone I take may sound personal at times, but I'm not gonna say tell you not to take it personal. But if you take it personal, that's kind of on you, man. Like I'm not here to try to pander to nobody, no particular crowd. Um, I've been called Uncle Tom's, I've been called Coon, I've been called all type, whatever, right? I've been called a self-hating black man. I've been called racist against my own race. They call me everything, man. It doesn't. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I have no problem debating with people online. Is I actually use it to pass. I can't say I use it to pass time, but I post my strong opinions, and if people choose to engage in a debate with me online about it, or choose to get mad in the comment section and be emotional, that's on you, man. Like, folks just be emotional. So, um, I really don't care. I really don't care. Anyways, we're gonna get to the topic though, man. We're gonna get into the topic. So I want to see. There's a lot of people that's taking it upon themselves to discuss this topic today. Mainly sports figures. The Stephen A. Smiths of the world, the Jason Whitlocks of the world. I even heard that. I even heard about that punk Emmanuel Acho saying some stuff. I don't watch Emmanuel Acho's content. I think I just think he's a certified loser. That's just my opinion. He's I don't even talk junk about the man, but I think he's a loser. So I'm not gonna get too much into that. The only reason why I even know that Emmanuel Acho, and for those who don't know him, because I'm sure most people who consume my content probably have never heard of Emmanuel Acho. He's a former NFL player. Didn't really have a light him up career, but he did make the league, so that's good for him. I think he played some type of lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman. I don't know, but he played some type of. I think he was a defensive lineman or defensive tackle or something of that nature. I think he played in the league. He was employed in the league 4 or 5 years, I think. But I don't think he was what they would consider good enough to hack it. So, but anyways, whatever. He had some stuff to say about it. I'm gonna weigh in on it. Y'all know I'm not someone that considers myself a Christian. Sometimes when I do these videos, and when I'm speaking to people in real life, I will speak to them and I may refer to myself as a Christian, or I may say we, us Christians, or whatever, because it's just easier to navigate conversations sometimes like that. Um, I don't like to try to explain this whole stuff, nor do I want people getting the wrong idea of, because sometimes when you meet people who say they aren't Christian, but they're talking Bible, sometimes people get this idea about them that they think they're better than what they think that, like, okay, people get the idea that if you call yourself a non-Christian while speaking Bible, you think you're better than us Christians, or you think you're better than them Christians. And because I don't want the message to get lost when I'm saying certain things, I just go along with the whole Christian thing, right? Because that's how someone would identify me who's not a Christian. If you're a Christian and you believe in the Holy Trinity and all that other good stuff, then you probably wouldn't consider me a Christian, because I don't necessarily believe I don't believe the Trinity thing. And I think that's one of the core tenets of Christianity. Um, I'm not even gonna get into that, but I'm approaching all this from a standpoint of somebody who um has read the Bible, who reads the Bible, who believes what the Bible says is law, who doesn't believe that the Bible changes with the times, that the author of those holy scriptures, who I acknowledge as the Most High, he moved upon men to record the things they recorded that we now call holy scriptures, or Bible. So I come from a place of respecting the Bible and respecting its authority in my life. It is what governs my life. And so I find myself guilty in terms of if I'm judging myself by Bible standards, I find myself guilty at times of not meeting those standards. And it is what it is. That's between. I'm just yeah. My point is, I don't condemn people without condemning myself. One thing I want to leave this part of the conversation with before we get into the video is I always hear this. Don't the Bible say don't judge? I see it online all the time by people who clearly don't know the Bible. And I hear it even from so-called Christians who are too scared to take a hard line in the sand stance. And they'll say we're not supposed to judge people, so I don't judge people. And it's like, yeah, that's not it. I mean, it's just not true. It's not that we aren't supposed to judge people. And for those of y'all who know, we understand that Jesus himself has said, and again, I know he has a Hebrew name that I mainly use now, but for the sake of this live, and not getting confused about that, I'm not going to address him by that. I'm going to address him by as y'all know him, which is Jesus. But in Matthew 7 it says, "Judge, let's not you be judged. For what measure you judge someone else by, you're going to be judged by that same measure." That's all it says. It doesn't say you can't judge. It just says be careful with how you judge and be ready to receive the same measure of judgment that you use to judge someone else. John chapter 7, Jesus says, I'm paraphrasing what he says, right? Please don't quote me and say I misquoted Jesus, because I'm paraphrasing. Jesus says, "You're not wrong because you judge. You're wrong because you didn't practice righteous judgment. You didn't judge righteously. And that you judge is that you didn't do it righteously, did it contentiously," right? So anyways, we're gonna go off to kind of review what some of these sports guys have said, and I'm gonna obviously comment on it, give my take on it, that kind of stuff. A lot I want to say about it, but I kind of want to hear what some of these sports figures have to say. So I think the best one to start with is going to have to be Stephen A. Smith, because he's the big dog of this sports stuff right now. So we're gonna go with Stephen A. Smith. Right here. Yep, we're gonna go with Stephen A.
Everyone has free offers on the latest phones, but T-Mobile gives you a lot more. T-Mobile families save over $3,700 versus the other big guys, and our experience plans include amazing benefits, plus our 5-year price guarantee. Switch to T-Mobile.
Yeah, I got premium, so I hate this ad stuff, but it is what it is.
Unapologetic. I'm not trying to talk about him, unlike anyone else. But knowing,
let's see,
golf, tennis. What others were saying were anti-LGBT.
All right, let's start.
And it's self-inflicted. What I mentioned? Hell yeah. Your individual greatness will come shining through. That will speak volumes better than anything. That's how I feel about it. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call. That's 888-623-3646. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I got to switch. Jayden Ivey already been shut down for the season 2 of the Chicago Bulls.
All right. So this is Stephen A. Smith Show. This is the part where he weighs in on the Jayden Ivey situation. He's reflecting a lot of comments that most people are saying. A lot of the sports figures are saying, a lot of what I'm seeing online as well. I mean, I'm actually seeing a lot more harsh things online about Jayden Ivey, but we're gonna rock out with this.
He's gotten himself into quite a quandary. And it's self-inflicted. Jayden Ivey already been shut down for the season 2.
My bad, guys. I didn't do a good job at the transition. So for context, Jayden Ivey, he is I guess right now he's a former NBA player. He's an NBA player. I believe he's in the 4th year of his rookie deal. So he's about 24 years old. He was initially signed by the Detroit Pistons. He's a guard, I believe. Honestly, I don't watch the Pistons much. And to be real with you, in the last 2 years, I haven't watched much basketball. I followed it more so online than actually watching it, just kind of following stats and stuff like that. I really don't remember. I think he's a guard, but he got traded from the Pistons when he broke his leg. Had kind of an up and down career. Like I said, he's been in the league for 4 years now, but he's kind of had an up and down career. He was the number 5 overall pick in the 2021 draft or 2022 draft. I don't remember now which draft he came in, but 21 or 22 season, he was the number 5 overall pick. So that's a lottery pick. That's a big deal. And like I say, he's drafted by the Detroit Pistons. The hope was to put him right beside Cade Cunningham, the guy that's leading Detroit Pistons right now. And that they'd be kind of like a dynamic duo, a good tandem to take the Detroit Pistons to the next level. And the Detroit Pistons are ascending this year without Jayden Ivey. They traded him last season, I believe. Might have been this season, but they traded him last season to the Chicago Bulls. And they traded him to the Chicago Bulls. And he's kind of had up and down season there, and he got injured again, so he's been shut down for the season. He recently had some comments that he made. I would play the comments first, but Stephen A. Smith's going to play them, so you kind of have to just kind of be patient. If you're lost, just be patient. He's going to play what some of what this kid Jayden Ivey said. But the gist of what I get from it is that Jayden Ivey is a newfound Christian. I think he kind of just found the faith. I'm not saying he didn't quote unquote grow up Christian, but how many of us grew up Christian and didn't really actually read the Bible or understand it for ourselves? So he seems like somebody that grew up Christian, or I'm not gonna say grew up Christian, but possibly grew up Christian. But he seems like somebody that's just now kind of discovering the faith for himself, doing his own reading, and finally has got his own level of conviction. And like a lot of us little hoppers, when we first find the true religion of Christianity, or the, let me not say true religion of Christianity for the sake of conversation, I'm saying that, but people that personally know me know what I believe. When we first find the truth of the Bible, we start reading things that are completely antithetical to what preachers preach, completely antithetical to how we live our lives and what we thought Christianity was. When we read the Bible for ourselves and start kind of seeing a different side of it, I know for me, you get instantly convicted, right? If you're on a true religion search, if you're on a search for the true Most High Yahweh, that's usually what happens. You get convicted and you get zealous, and some of us get overzealous. I probably fall in the category of being a little overzealous at times when I first kind of really found my religion. I don't like using that word, but when I found my religion, when I started finding my understanding of Bible truths, not what the pastor told me, but straight up Bible truths of what I can read in black and white on paper, it was different, man. It was real different, and I was very convicted. So I understand. I don't know, by the way, but that's what I think he's going through. I think that's what this guy is going through, but I'm not sure. It is kind of, I don't know much about him. Obviously, I know him as Jayden Ivey, the Chicago Bulls guard, but I don't really know him. Based off what I see online, though, he seems like a newfound, maybe newborn again believer in Christ. And so he kind of jumped off the porch and started kind of saying some things, kind of speaking his opinion, practicing his free speech. And he's been canceled for it. He's been fired from the NBA for it. Before I even play Stephen A. Smith, continue to play it, I'm going to say it's wrong. My personal opinion, it's absolutely wrong what they did to him. And I'll tell you why. Once I'm kind of, as we go through this video, I'll tell you why. But it's absolutely wrong. Dude didn't need to lose his job behind free speech. He didn't say anything that I thought was scathing, that anybody could factually say was scathing to the LGBT community, the community they're saying that he said hateful and ostracizing things about. Anyways, let's bring Stephen A. back on to see what it is that he's saying.
Due to left knee pain, over the past week went live multiple times on Instagram, sharing what some would say were inflammatory remarks tied to his religious beliefs. What the Chicago Bulls were saying was conduct detrimental to the team. What others were saying were LGBTQ plus stuff. Okay? And the reason why this story has really percolated even more is because he was waived by the Chicago Bulls. I think his mother's a coach at Notre Dame. I had the luxury of meeting him when he was drafted. Liked the kid, met his mom, wishing him nothing but the best. But we got to talk about this because we don't run from issues on this show. We haven't before, and we certainly are not going to start now. Jayden Ivey said a few things. And rather than me quoting and reading those quotes, I want you to hear from him yourself. First, he made the comments that got him in trouble. And then in a 42-minute appearance on Instagram Live. And then
so this is the part where he's playing kind of like he's just kind of playing the highlights behind what Jayden Ivey said. Jayden Ivey, like you said, had 42-minute Instagram, but this is kind of like the highlights of what he said, the things that got him canceled. So that's really the part that he's about to step into now. So y'all can actually hear Jayden Ivey's comments for yourself if you haven't already heard them. He's about to play it now on his show. So that's why I didn't go to Jayden Ivey's page and play it from there, because I knew he was going to cover it. So let's listen to what happened.
Thereafter, ultimately getting waived by the Chicago Bulls, he had even more to say. And of course, Coach Billy Donovan of the Chicago Bulls had to speak on it as well. So let's take it in the order that it was given. This is Jayden Ivey before he was waived by the Chicago Bulls. Listen to what he had to say.
The world can proclaim LGBTQ. Right? They proclaim Pride Month and the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that man, this man is crazy?
Today, business happens virtually everywhere. That's why you need Super Mobile from T-Mobile.
See, man, I gotta deal with these ads because I'm not on my premium. It's so lame, but let's see.
Network.
That was Jayden Ivey talking about the LGBTQ community.
Okay. So we heard what he had to say. In case we missed it, let's go back. Start right here. I think this is where it starts. Let's see where we at. The 11:52 mark. We're gonna go to right here. So we're gonna play his comments one more time, and then we're gonna react to Jayden Ivey's comments. I'm gonna react to Stephen A. Smith too, but we're gonna play this, and then we'll go play Jayden Ivey's remark.
By the Chicago Bulls. Listen to what he had to say.
The world can proclaim LGBTQ.
So far, the only thing he started out saying is that the world can proclaim LGBTQ. That's the only thing he said so far. Let's keep listening. What's going on? What's going on, Elvira? It's good to see you. I'll be on your lives too when it shows me. I'll be on your lives too. I just be working, so I don't really too much be commenting, but I do be seeing you on this, doing your thing. So I'm proud of you for being consistent. Obviously, I'm not. This is just, like I said, this is a hobby for me. It's like a low end hobby for me right now. It's something I don't have on my priority list, but you know, it's there. All right, let me see. Okay, so anyways, so far all he said is that the world can proclaim LBG. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I can't even say it right, but he's saying the world can proclaim that. So I'm going to play that. We're gonna see what did he say that was hateful, or what did they say he's saying disparaging to the LGBT community.
Right? They proclaim Pride Month and the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month to celebrate unrighteousness.
Okay, that right there. That's probably that. It wasn't probably. That's where they're hanging their hat at. So, come celebrate unrighteousness. That he says they proclaim it in the NBA. It sounds like he's scathing and he's condemning the NBA for proclaiming Pride Month. He's saying he's calling it unrighteousness, right? That's his opinion. That's his right to free speech. He's allowed to say that saying that proclaiming Pride Month is unrighteous is not hateful. I don't even understand like what. And maybe because they've updated the definition of so many things of so many words now. I'm about to Google the definition of hate because I don't know what the definition of hateful is anymore, but we're about to find out together because they literally changed the definitions of everything. So I'm gonna try to share. Let me see here. Stop screen. How do y'all gotta bear with me because y'all know I haven't done this in a minute, so I can't really remember how to share different screens on here. But okay, cool. We're gonna stop sharing that screen and we're gonna share this other screen. So the definition of hate is an intense emotion of animosity, aversion, or extreme dislike, often stemming from fear, anger, or injury. It is defined as a deep, enduring, and passionate hatred towards individuals or groups, frequently driven by prejudice, power dynamics, and bias. So saying that something is unrighteous is now hateful. That's good to know. Okay. That's good to know. Share this tab instead. Okay, perfect. That's easier. So far he called celebrating Pride Month in the NBA unrighteous. Okay, I'm explaining why he's not wrong, but I want to finish up what he had to say real quick.
They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that man, this man is crazy?
That was Jayden Ivey.
Before I carry on what Stephen A. Smith is saying, you know, the thing that hey, what's going on, Mrs. TNT? How you doing? How you doing? Thanks for joining. I appreciate you for joining. Like I said, this well, I at the beginning of this, I haven't went live in a year, so I'm surprised y'all even see that I'm live, because I know YouTube doesn't give notifications or anything like that when people are inactive. I've been inactive for a year, haven't went live, haven't posted a video, so I'm really surprised that anybody even saw this, because I expected my audience to be literally zero. But I'm going to talk as though I have a full audience, so it's cool. I'm talking like I got 1,000 people in the chat, and that's how I'm gonna carry it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it is what it is. But you know, Jayden Ivey said something interesting. He talked about people calling him crazy. You know, it's funny because I've seen it on X, I've seen it on Facebook, I've seen it on I'm not really on Instagram. I did see it on Instagram actually, but I've seen it even on YouTube videos for that matter. People saying this guy's, and some people were saying it in a way that, as matter of fact, some people were saying in the comment section. Actually, you know what? As I'm talking about the comment section, I'm going to go to Stephen A. Smith's comment section while I continue to talk about this. But and you can kind of see the comment section here. We'll kind of read through it. But the thing that gets me is that they're allowed to say, I'm going to take this off the screen for a second. They're allowed to say, when I say they, I mean the community he's talking about, right? The LGBT community, right? I've read it all day. I've read it literally all day online. They are allowed to say that this guy is clearly mentally ill and he needs some help. I find that so odd, because I'm like, the LGBT community and the regular community at large can say this guy's mentally ill. Literally from that video, there's a couple other videos he made, but they were all very similar in nature to that. And they're saying this guy's crying out for help. He's clearly mentally ill. And that's considered okay. But when he or other people from not the LGBT community, but people from, let me say this, people from the Christian community, right? People from the religious community, and even just people who are not allies of the LGBT community, if that's really a word. You know, when they say those people, that particular group is mentally ill, that particular group, especially when we talk about the ones that dress as that dress up in clothing that doesn't really belong to them, and you see, I got to be careful. But when you talk about the ones that dress up in clothing that doesn't belong to them and identify as a gender, okay, they say gender is a social construct, identify as a sex that's not them, clearly that's not them. I'm not gonna say I call it mentally ill, but when the Christian community or when the non-LGBT community calls that mentally ill, it's considered hate speech. Yeah, if anybody's being honest, if anybody's being objective, I know people have a very hard time being objective, but when people are being objective, if you're going to be objective, you've seen that when they call anybody of the other community that dresses in girls' clothes when they were born a male, or dresses in female clothes, dresses in male clothes when they was born a female, I've seen it. I see it all the time. They're like, yo, they're mentally ill. They belong in an asylum. And sometimes it could be kind of rude the way the person's saying it, but it doesn't take away from the truth of what they're saying. I'm not saying it's true, by the way. Nobody try to come cancel me yet. I'm not saying it's true. I'm simply saying if they believe that's true, fine. But these guys can get online and call this guy mentally ill because what? Because he's saying something he believes is religiously true. The First Amendment gives us Constitution. The First Amendment to the Constitution gives us the right to practice our religion. And it's they say, well, you can practice your religion, you can practice free speech, but that's not without consequence. It's just that the government can arrest you. Yeah, we moved the goalposts. That's not how it used to be. Like, you can put a consequence on somebody for practicing their religion, but there's no consequence on people for practicing their religion of homosexuality. And I say that with all due respect. I'm not saying they deserve a consequence, right? It's a free country. One of my big problem is any group that's ever been disenfranchised. And again, I'm gonna say things that people aren't gonna like, but I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not lying to kick it. Black people, women, homosexual community. I'm gonna talk about those three for a second. Those are the three communities, right? It started with, if we're talking about the modern day reformations, right? It started with the black community in the 1800s, rightfully so. We were ostracized, we were disenfranchised, we were oppressed, we were beaten, we were murdered, we were raped, we were all that for over 400 years while we were involuntarily brought here. You know, most of our ancestors were involuntarily brought here and didn't want this life, but we were forced into this lifestyle. And once we fought for our freedom, every disenfranchised group, once they get their freedom, it's let's go a step beyond freedom. Now it's suppression time. I'm not saying that people actively think that. I'm not saying that Black people are trying to oppress anybody. I'm not saying that the homosexual community is trying to oppress people. I'm not saying that women are trying to oppress people. But everybody knows I have very, very hard lines and I take a hard stance on what I believe to be real. And yes, I do think men are being oppressed. Maybe indirectly, but I think men over. When I say men, when I say women, I hope that the audience is intelligent enough to understand. I'm not saying all men. I'm not saying all women. I'm not saying all Black people. I'm not saying all homosexuals. Let's please be clear when I say that. I don't feel like that's something that I should have to clear up as because we're all grown. But I'm going to say it one time for the record. I'm just going to say women, and I'm just going to say men. I'm just going to say homosexuals. I'm just going to say Black people. I don't feel the need to put the condition on it that I'm not talking about all, because that should be understood. If it don't apply to you, it don't apply to you, right? Because the things I say about Black people, a lot of things I say about Black people don't apply to me, but I'm Black. But anyways, back to the point. In the every group that's oppressed gets their freedom, and then again, it's like it's never a stop. Like, okay, we've arrived, or it's never let's balance. Maybe not stop, but let's slow down and balance, because it's looking like we're the bullies now. Now we're the bullies to the people that once bullied us. Does that make it right? Does it make it right to bully the people that once bullied you? I don't know. I'm asking, right? I'm asking for those viewing, for those that'll view this video later. Is it right? Because again, this video is about the Jayden Ivey thing. I'm approaching it. I'm talking more so about. I'm just really going to address the homosexual community right now. I really don't want to get into the Black thing and the female man thing, because that'll take me all night. I've only got to about 9:30, so I really don't want to do that. But I'm going to kind of stay grounded here. The homosexual community has fought, right? The Blacks fought first. The women saw that and said, well, if the Blacks can get it off strength in numbers, we need strength in numbers too. We're a disenfranchised group. The Blacks jumped on the women's suffrage thing, right? The women's suffrage thing, the feminist thing, because as Black people, we're like, we know what it feels like to be ostracized. We know what it feels like to be oppressed. So we're going to fight the cause with them. So now the women had the Blacks fighting with them too. Then the homosexuals sat back and said, the women fought and got what they wanted. The Blacks fought and got what they wanted. Now we want to fight and get what we want. We want our rights too. Rightfully so, right? Every human deserves basic human rights. I'm not against that. So the homosexuals fought right around the same time that the women were fighting, actually, in the 1960s and stuff. Homosexuals came after, but they fought around the same time. What do I think about Iran blocking the oil from getting past the Strait of Hormuz? I'll get into that in a second. It's not something I'm super well versed on. I pay attention to it, but I don't study it, right? So that's the two things. But I will kind of touch on that if I have a time before I finish this topic. I will touch on that, but I do appreciate y'all for tuning in. Definitely appreciate the question. I'll touch on that if I can before I get off. Just remind me. But yeah, like I said, the homosexual revolution kind of came, kind of was spearheaded more so in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. And then really in the 2000s was like, it got, I don't want to say crazy, because they'll say they'll call me hateful for saying that, even though it's a figure of speech. It got wild in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. So my point is, it's like, and again, I'm hanging on this. I really wish I had some proof. I don't want to have too much dead air, but I'm gonna try to go through these comments. Here goes somebody, and this has 49 replies. So let's just look at it. Jayden, this is somebody's comment to the Stephen A. Smith's take on this. Jayden Ivey, and I don't want to sound like I'm all over the place. I'm gonna get back to my point, but I want to see what people are talking about, because I don't like saying what's happening without showing proof, right? I don't have time to comb Instagram and comb X and all that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of look at the comments on YouTube. One commenter says, Jayden Ivey should be allowed to speak his mind. I didn't hear him say anything derogatory. Facts. Sounded like he gave his opinion. Facts. And while I don't give a D about what anybody does with their life to have an opinion, I do think people should be able to say, to see something and say, I don't like that. Facts, right? We live in a free country with free speech. And I'm really sick of that lazy argument that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequence. It doesn't mean there's not consequences that follow it. No crap, dummy. Like, we understand that. My point is, if there should be consequences for one, there should be consequences for all. And it doesn't seem like Christians can practice free speech, because when they do, we're called, well, I say we again, I don't identify as Christian, but for the sake of conversation, I will. We're called radicals. We're called intolerant. He just said cancel Pride Month. We don't have a month for Christianity. We don't have a month for Islam. So why do we have a month for Pride? Right? That's all he's saying. and they call him homophobic. The same people call him homophobic, I call him Christian phobic, right? You got Christian phobia, but that's not against the law. Nobody cares about that, right? Nobody cares about a Christian phobic. Sorry, I was reading a message from my sister. Let me see something real quick. We're gonna go back to that comment in a second, but I think it's weird that you can practice Christian phobia, but you can't, or you can practice what's the word? Jesus phobia. I don't know the word you put on it. Sorry for the buffering, guys, but Christian phobia, I think it's really crazy that you can practice that. But when you're so-called, when you say anything that's, even if you just criticize, you question the thing, they'll call me homophobic for this video. They would literally call me homophobic for this video. And I haven't said anything homophobic, right? I don't fear gay people, and I certainly don't hate gay people. There's gay people in my family. I don't hate them. I don't support the sin no more than I support the adulterer, right? I was married once, not married anymore. I still lust over women. That would in some respects make me an adulterer, right? Facts. I'm not gonna lie. I judge myself the same way, right? Matthew chapter 7, judge those the same way you want to be judged. I'm not gonna judge someone else and then lie about my own sin, right? I'm not gonna celebrate it, but I certainly aren't gonna lie about it, bro. It is what it is. Like, anyways, sorry guys. I don't think I'm sharing the screen. Back to this comment real quick. About what this guy said about Jayden Ivey should be allowed to practice to speak his mind and say what he wants to say, right? Let's see what some of the responses are, right? Because I don't know what the responses are. Someone said he is allowed to speak his mind, but actions have consequences. Again, we understand that. I guess one of my biggest questions is why? Why, as a Christian, you can't practice your religion by saying, you're not even doing anything, by saying things that you think you should be able to say, but the pride community can come running through the courts, waving the pride flag, sometimes dressed in clothes that are probably not child friendly, even though the NBA is supposed to be a family friendly product. Real quick for context too, y'all know 2 weeks ago, I'm not gonna get into this because I don't have it up and I don't want to pull it up. About 2 weeks ago, the NBA was going to have Magic City Night. Y'all heard me. I know y'all know what Magic City is. It's a famous strip club in Atlanta. They were going to have a Magic City Night celebrating Magic City. I don't know what that was going to contain. Trying to find it real quick. I don't know what that was supposed to contain, what Magic City Night was supposed to contain. But I know it got canceled. It's a couple weeks ago. I really can't remember why. The Atlanta Hawks plant Magic City Night tribute. It got canceled. Like I said, I don't want to go off and kind of be distracted by talking about that. So I'm not going to share that. But they can celebrate Magic City Night, a stripper night, and they were going to. They got a lot of pushback. I forget from who, but they got a lot of pushback. And they ended up having to cancel it. But I find it odd that you can celebrate Pride Month. You could celebrate Magic City Night, where you pretty much are glorifying. Please pardon my French, but again, I don't want to apologize for who I am, because this is how I talk in real life. You can glorify a bunch of whores, but when it comes to somebody talking about their religion and kind of being I won't even say condemning. They weren't condemning that community. He condemned the celebration of Pride Month and that being observed by the NBA. Again, we want to cancel and fire this man. And you know what pisses me off the most is that Christians never ever come to the aid of people like this. And this is why more people don't speak out and share their Christian beliefs, because they understand they got a family to feed. And if they get canceled, they cannot feed their family. So where are the Christians rallying around this guy? The only so-called Christians, Stephen A. Smith's supposed a Christian. He's not rallying around this guy. He's in but so many words condemning the guy, even if he's doing it lightly. Jason Whitlock. I like Jason Whitlock. He had a couple of pastors on there. I want to bring his up in a second, his live up, but he had a couple of pastors on there, and they were like, oh, kind of like right message, but he needs to be discipled, blah, 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 blah. Bro, when the LGBT group gets criticized, they show up in droves for change, right? If Jayden Ivey never would have got fired today or yesterday, I think it was yesterday. If he never would have got fired yesterday, they would have been at the next Chicago Bulls game. I wouldn't say rioting, but protesting outside, right? Bringing awareness, bringing noise, saying the NBA supports homophobia. But you have the Christian groups have not rallied around Jayden Ivey, or anybody else has been canceled for having Christian values, for that matter. That makes me so mad about the Christian community, because there's no brotherhood, there's no family, right? Family sticks together. The LGBT community sticks together. If Cam Newton says something about the reporter like he did in 2015, and all he said was, I'm surprised a woman knows how to talk football the way you do. That's all he said. They called that man, they called him misogynistic. And the women, the women groups rallied around, criticized the Panthers, and Cam Newton had to come out and apologize. That's the stuff that makes me mad. All these groups, all these heathen groups come out in droves to support the. I'm not calling I'm not necessarily saying the groups I just talked about is heathen, by the way, but in general, all these heathen groups, when I say heathen, I mean non-believers. All these non-believers come out, even Islam, to support their guy, to support their woman that may be going through a particular hard time, to put pressure on the organization that employs said person, or that employs the groups of people that were targeting the disenfranchised group, right? The Islams come out. The Chinese come out. The Asians come out. The women come out. Lord knows the women come out in droves when any of them are criticized. And the LGBT community, anytime any of them are criticized or questioned, they come out in droves. The Christians don't do the same, and I am tired of it. It makes me so annoyed. Like, at this point, Jayden Ivey's fired. He's probably never going to have a job again unless he walks back his comments 1,000%. And even then, he'll be a bench player that gets trash minutes. You know what I mean? His team is blowing somebody out. He gets the last 3 minutes of the game. His team's up by 40. He gets the last 3, 4, 5 minutes of the game. I don't think he gets employed by another team again. But definitely the first thing is going to be to walk back the comments. He's going to have to say, I'm in therapy and I'm going through my mental health stuff. And he'll have to blame it on mental health, even though it's not. He'll have to blame it on mental health. He'll have to then come out. Watch, you'll see. If he comes back to the league, he'll have to do his therapy tour, his I'm sorry tour. He'll have to donate money and time and community service to the LGBT community to get back into the league. Right? They're going to do to that man if that's what he wants to do. So it's frustrating to see it as a believer that the believers don't come out in droves. This is the only way to get change, guys. I'm all about solutions. The Jayden Iveys of the world, and maybe he is going through something mental. They said something about his wife's not talking to him. His whole family saying he's psychotic. He's going through an episode. Things have been happening. That may or may not be true. But there's been Jayden Iveys before Jayden Iveys, right? There's been so-called Christians before Jayden Ivey that came out and spoke and has been canceled. Either their shows have been, as a rapper, they've been canceled. As a movie star, they've been canceled. And as a sports figure, they've been canceled, right? It happens all the time, and they're forced to walk things back. And the Christians never rally around these people. So one of these things I want to leave y'all with, I don't want to complain about the things I don't like. I want to kind of find a solution here. I want to call on all so-called Christians, rally around Jayden Ivey. Never mind whatever mental thing he might be going around. Get a GoFundMe set up for him. I know he's not broke, but at the end of the day, if dude's made, the last 4 years, he's made $15, $20 million a year. I don't know what his salary is, right? $15 million a year as a rookie. No one's crying for that, right? But at the same time, if it abruptly gets cut off, right? He still has to pay security. He can't go from his $1 million house to a $500,000 house because he will probably be robbed. So unfortunately, yes, he does make a lot of money, but let's support this guy. Let's encourage this guy to find his next calling if he's going to be out of the NBA, be that a streamer, be that, I don't know, maybe it's real estate. But if he needs help, let's rally around this guy financially and make sure he can still feed his family. I'm not crying for millionaires, y'all. Trust me, I'm not. You a millionaire, bro? You should have plenty of money you sitting on. You should be sitting on plenty of bread, especially if you knew you was going to come out and say this, because you had to know you were going to be fired after you took this hard line and stance, because the NBA is virtually it's a heathen product. Anytime you celebrate whore night, stripper night, Magic City night, anytime you're celebrating that, you're a heathen company, right? Now I enjoy the NBA. Like I said, I barely watched it the last 2 years. I more so followed it online, but there's strength in numbers, guys. And if we rally, this stops, but this won't stop without a rallying, right? Christians have to show up and protest. Christians got to stop watching a product when one of ours gets hit, right? The LGBT community does it. The women do it. We got to do the same thing, right? As Christians, right? And like I said, I'm only saying Christian for the sake of the video. I don't identify as a Christian because I don't believe in the Holy Trinity. But I believe in the Bible. And as Bible believers, we got to rally around fellow Bible believers, people that are brave enough and willing enough. Y'all call everything brave, right? Oh, he came out the closet, he's brave. Oh, this woman survived this, so she's brave. If a so-called Christian is brave enough to stand up for what is right, we have to support that. We can't just say, bravo, brother. Like, no, we got to demonstrate outside of these arenas, right? The same thing that they do, the same thing every other group does. We got to do it. Now, I only got 15 more minutes left with y'all, so I'm going to try to finish this video and still go through some more. Well, actually, we're in the comments, so we'll go through that. So remember, the original comment is someone saying they don't have a problem with what Jayden Ivey did. He's essentially saying, I don't like that, right? I don't like what the NBA is doing, but he didn't ostracize the group. He is allowed to speak his mind, but actions have consequences. Somebody responds like putting criminals in jail. Wait, did you say the same thing about Jimmy Kimmel? The hypocrisy is palatable. Yeah, I find this guy. I find people that call other people hypocrites funny when in reality they're the actual hypocrites. I just find that really funny. But okay, I'm not going to read every comment. I'm going to see if there's anybody saying some of the same stuff that I said they were saying earlier, right? Hate speech, that kind of stuff. Because I saw it all day on YouTube. His employer, if true, and if his employer don't see it that way, they should do what they need to as well. I guess again, my point is, guys, we're never going to as Christian people, we're never going to be able to have a say in this world. We're never going to be able to have our cake and eat it too, like the rest of the groups do. We're never going to be able to get that if we don't stand together, right? We got to have people standing together. I'm trying to bring up a pastor's video, right? I was going to do Stephen A. Smith, but since my time is limited, I want to bring up some of this church folk stuff. Stephen A. Smith is least he's not really a church folk. I want to bring up some of that. Let me get through these stupid ads first, guys. Yeah, I know I got ads on this. So, well, not I got ads. This is my free page. So I'm trying to find where they play. Jason Whitlock is not a pastor, but he has some pastors on it. I think both the guys that speak on here are pastors. Let me see. Y'all bear with me.
2026, and sports are being used to promote chaos and destruction and judgment. I'm going to continue this conversation with Anthony and Virgil and Dre Baldwin back by just doing older and thinking factor. So for just
Anthony is the pastor. NBA, so both of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, are pastors. Not him, not this guy. Make sure y'all can see what I'm doing here. Not this guy, but these two are pastors, if I'm not mistaken. So I really want to hear what these so-called pastors, what they got to say about the whole Jayden Ivey incident, right?
Chicago Bulls waiving Jayden Ivey.
Ephesians chapter 2 lets us know that the prince of the power of the air is Satan. So virtually everything that goes on within this flesh realm has Satan's mark upon it. And we have to intentionally and actively pull away from that. So with that being said, when I see the world responding the way the world responds, it doesn't shock me. I understand that that's what's going on. Secondly, I look at this as the Bible does. God, 90% of the scripture that you read is written to God's people. There's some general warnings out there for all of creation, but most of it is pointed towards Christians. So we have to pull from the world. We have to live according to the word and according to the example that God lays out. So with all of that, again, with all that being said, I feel for him. I can hear the passion. I can hear, as you've pointed out, the crying out that there's something going on. He's crying out. I pray for him. I pray that he is.
And see, I don't know, right? I don't have all the facts, but I find it is funny that, again, he's crying out. Like, I mean, I don't know. Is he? What'd he say? Like, what'd he say that makes people think he's crying out, as opposed to the fact that he may be handling his newfound religion? He may be handling a little bit overzealously. Sure, I'll give you that. But crying out for help is just a little weird, man. This is a pastor, by the way, guys.
Surrounded by people who, care for him, understand his spiritual walk, some good godly men. I don't know what church he attends or what leadership he's under, but someone that can kind of help him to hone that and even to become settled in his own journey. Sometimes when we first begin our journey as Christians, we're ready because we've just come out of this sin. So we're ready to call it out, and we should. But then we have to understand, man, I also have to live this witness. I also have to walk this out. Yes, there's a time to speak. There's a time to be silent. There's a time to live stream. There's a time not to. So all of that comes in. But yeah, we hear, I hear him and I prayed for him, and I pray that.
See, I don't exactly disagree with his take so far. I can't say 100% support it, but I don't exactly disagree with what he's saying at this point. There is a time and place for everything, but I don't believe that. I mean, bro, you got to count the cost. He knew when he did this, he had to have known that he was going to be canceled from the league. I have to imagine he knew that. I hope he counted the cost. Sometimes you have to be willing to sacrifice things. So long as you prepare for it, you have to be willing to sacrifice things for what you believe in. Like, I do think he may be a little bit zealous for the word, right? He might be new in the faith, and he may be zealous, maybe stepped off the porch too soon. But again, as Christians and these pastors should be rallying around him right now. It should be nothing but full on support. If you want to chastise him, do it behind closed doors. Because again, sometimes you have to fight people the same way they fighting you if you don't want to. You might be a clean fighter, right? Let's talk about boxers. You know, I had a very, 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 very short career training in amateur boxing, right? Very short. I had a cup of coffee. That's what they call it, a cup of coffee. I had a cup of coffee as an amateur boxer, right? It's very short. I did it for about a year and a half. I think it's about a year and a half. So very short cup of coffee as an amateur boxer. If I'm boxing somebody, there's a referee in the ring, and the guy, every time we tangle up, right? Every time we tangle up, the guy kind of gives me an elbow or it gives me a low blow, and I'm telling the ref, or the ref is acting like he don't see it. I don't fight dirty. I'm a clean fighter. But if that guy keeps doing it and I tell him, bro, stop elbowing me, I feel that elbow. Hey, ref, you're not going to do nothing? And nothing happens. By the third or fourth time he does that, I'm going to start fighting the way he's fighting me. Either that or I'm going to lose, right? Like, it's not fair. I'm going to even the playing field if you don't. Even if I don't want to, I will become that fighter to win this fight. Same thing applies here, right? I don't want to blindly support someone just because they say they're a Christian. I don't believe necessarily in that. But if everyone else is fighting that way, women generally, if one of them is ostracized or something misogynistic is said about a woman or about women in general, they all come flocking. You don't usually have a bunch of women coming out on the other side. I mean, more so lately, you kind of get that. But in general, they all come flocking. No matter what the woman may have said to invoke this kind of response, all the women come flocking, blindly supporting her. LGBT community. Nobody from the LGBT community in general, most don't come out and say, yo, I'm LGBT and he didn't say nothing wrong. I mean, I feel him. He's just practicing his free speech. Why are we canceling him? They don't say that. They all come out and support in droves. They blindly support. So as a Christian, talk to the man behind closed doors. Try to talk about his need for discipleship and counseling. Do that mess behind closed doors. In public, support this man. He took a hard stance. He's losing his career. Support this man. We have to do better, man. We got to do better. We got to support this dude. Not just him. Everybody that's willing to put their career on the line. Y'all know this lady. I wish I could find the video. I just don't have enough time tonight, man. I'm sorry, but my next live, I hope to go this weekend. I plan on being live literally a good portion of the Saturday, like probably for hours, just to cover different topics. But you know, I was about to talk about Shiloh Henderson, but I'll talk about her later. I'll talk about them later. Let me stick to this. This is what the pastor said. I want to bring up the other pastor before I get off. I got 7 minutes.
That again, he is discipled in this journey, and that he understands that he sees
persecuted.
Getting hard and getting turned on are not the same thing.
That is why.
Over here, I'll mute that ad. Skip that. All right. Let's see. Oh,
that the Bible.
Go ahead and chime in wherever you want.
No, I thought that was wise counsel that Anthony provided, and it's incredibly pastoral, right? I think there are two elements of this issue that need to be addressed. One is his personal life and what's going on. I think Anthony laid out what that looks like. I would add Matthew 5:10. You know, blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. And so the comfort that the Bible ascribes to those of us who are persecuted for righteousness' sake is absolutely there. And again, I want to be careful about using persecution, because someone will look at that and say, you know, he's got a $20 million job that, you know, he got let go of. That is, if that's persecution, then, you know, when the reality is there's some real forms of persecution that some people are experiencing over in parts of Africa that are very real and devastating. At the same time, his faith is under attack. And that's absolutely clear. So there's another element to this, which is the environment that he's in, the culture that he's in, one that used to not promote issues related to sexuality. Why in the world would the NBA be promoting pride? What purpose in the world does that have to serve the family?
I like that. See, I like this so far. Usually this guy, Virgil, he's usually very soft, cucked out on matters. But I like what he's saying. Again, if you're going to promote one, promote all, right? We talk about equality. Promote all. We have the NBA celebrates Women's Month. They celebrate Women's History Month. They celebrate Black History Month. They celebrate Pride Month. We don't have a Jesus Month. And that's partially not just the NBA's fault, right? I'm not just going to blame them because it's Christians for not pushing for it. So-called Christians. Christians are not pushing for the same rights. That's part of the problem. We're not making our voice heard in the public square, right? It's one-offs like myself, and I don't have a platform, right? Like, I don't really have a platform. It's one-offs like myself, Jason Whitlock. He talks about these things. He's probably somebody that most of y'all probably wouldn't like. I ain't gonna lie. He has very hard takes, what some people call misogynistic, etc. But I like him. I think he tells the truth a lot. I mean, he says plenty of things I don't agree with. I think he does a lot of things to be salacious and hyperbolic, but all in all, I rock with Jason Whitlock. He's largely canceled. He used to be a sports, like Stephen A. Smith. Jason Whitlock used to be on that status a long time ago, but he got canceled because he stopped selling out. He was selling out for a period of time. He talks about it. Like, he just stopped selling out and he got true. He found his faith. He's still a heathen. He'll say it himself, but he found his faith and he was done selling out. So he got canceled. So you have people with a platform, but they get canceled and nobody rallies around them. Nobody rallies around them. That's the problem. Is that one person can't make a difference. In most cases, one person does not make a difference. You need a team. The LGBT community made a difference because they had people behind them, not just them. They had the women behind them and they had the blacks behind them. Facts. Women got to change. First wave suffrage, 1919 in the early 1900s to get first wave feminism. Sorry, they wanted the right to vote. Then, and again, please understand what I'm saying. I'm being a little hyperbolic as well. So don't judge me and tell me I'm misogynist, because I'm not. I believe in women having rights, but they got the right to vote. And then when they got that, it was like, that's not enough. We want to get out the house. We deserve to work and own our own living and not have to live under the thumb of a man. I'll talk about that another time too. I got a lot to say about that. Because men cause that problem as well. It wasn't just a woman thing. Men certainly caused that problem, but we'll get there maybe on my next live, because I got a lot I want to talk about then. I don't make promises, but I'm telling you, I will go live again this week. That's unless barring some emergency happens. I'm going live again this week. Hope to go live at least another 2 to 3 times, but I'm definitely going live at least one more time this week. My longest live will probably be Saturday. I hope to go live for a few hours on Saturday or Friday night. I haven't decided yet, but definitely want to be on for a few hours and cover a variety of topics. Anyways, but yeah, I'm glad this other pastor has said what he said so far, because usually he's really cucked out on these matters.
Is that they hope show up at the at basketball events. What the NBA has been promoting, they call tolerance. We want to be tolerant. We want to be tolerant. But what they're demonstrating is that their tolerance has a theological ceiling. That at the end of the day, we're going to tolerate you so long as you don't come with anything theological, long as you don't say the name Jesus, as long as you don't go too far. We're willing to tolerate you. We're willing to tolerate.
Okay. Oh, okay. Pastor preaching. I wasn't sure he was going to take this stance. He's usually very soft. He's usually a cuck. I didn't think he'd take this stance. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was ready to criticize him and jump down his throat, pause, but he's impressing me. I'm very shocked right now, but I give credit where it's due.
All kinds of crazy behavior, sexual behavior, sexual deviancy, and the like. And so long as you don't promote Jesus, as soon as you do that, then we've got another set of rules that we have to extend in your direction.
Dre, before I get to you, I want to pivot a little bit conversationally. I want to play Emmanuel Acho's reaction to this. I thought it was fascinating.
Emmanuel Acho, oh my gosh, I didn't even know they was about to play this on this. Dude's 100% a cuck. He's 1,000% cucked out. I don't care for this Emmanuel Acho guy. 100% cuck. I would say the P word, but I don't want to be too rude. Like I said, I'm not about to lie to y'all about how I really talk. I really don't curse, but I do say derogatory comments in my regular speech. Sometimes I do type a cuss word. I ain't gonna lie, when I'm trolling people in chats, not chats, my bad. When I'm trolling people in the comment section of Facebook or YouTube or something, I'll put an X in place of like a vowel or something. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. Like I don't talk like this in my cuss in my everyday speech. I've been stopped doing that. It's not something I practice at all. But I do sometimes. I know typing is the same thing, but I do sometimes type with it, edit it, and every so often I do use the real word. I'm not gonna lie. But that's sometimes in comment section when I'm trolling. I really don't even be mad. I just do it for fun. Sometimes, not even when I'm trolling people. When I make a comment and I can see someone say something stupid back to me, instead of arguing, I get on straight troll mode. I ain't gonna lie. But I do use the P word to describe soft men a lot. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm not gonna say it right now. I'm gonna try to edit myself. I'm gonna try to tone myself down. Anyway, let's listen to this cuck Emmanuel Acho.
I can't reject all of what Emmanuel Acho's saying. He talked a little bit about the struggles that Jayden Ivey's been going through and kind of puts a different spin on it. I want to get your reaction to that. Let's play Emmanuel Acho.
There is freedom of speech, but freedom of speech does not necessarily mean freedom of consequence. I also will
the same exact talking points. They all march out to the same exact. They got the same talking orders, bro. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequence. Like, it's literally the same exact message, bro.
Mind everybody, starting from the sports perspective, your talent will make room for you. If Jayden Ivey was averaging 20 points and 10 assists right now, 20 points and 10 boards right now, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But because in January of 2025, he broke his left fibula. And then in October of 2025, he had arthroscopic knee surgery. And then again, he's missed the last 2 weeks he had missed starting in February 21st after getting traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. As a result, averaging 11 points and 3 assists, his talent is not making room for him. Plus, if you're in the training room, we do not necessarily want to hear from you. We want to just see you recovering. So from a sports perspective, starting there, athletes, you know, your talent makes room for you. The talent starts to diminish. We do not want to hear you more than we see you. That's number one. Number two, I don't like the path that Jayden Ivey is going down. And the reason I say this is this. Number one, Jayden Ivey's been through a lot. If you hear what he's talked about, he was sexually molested as a child. He had a porn addiction while he was married. He's self-admitted that he...
again, completely unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. This guy says he's the son of a pastor. I don't even think this context matters. This is a guy who came out and said, I don't get why the NBA is celebrating Pride Night. It's unrighteous, and NBA is pushing unrighteousness. I literally don't get what this has to do with that. A total cuck. I mean, he's somebody that would do and say anything to be famous. I mean, I know a lot about this guy. I've heard a lot of people criticize him. I already explained who he was earlier in the video, so if you don't know who he is, you just have to kind of rewind the video. But this guy is like a grade A loser.
He was abusive towards his wife and his children. These are all Jayden Ivey's words, not...
He was abusive towards his wife and his children. These are all Jayden Ivey's words, not mine. Why is that even important to the context here? And maybe it is, right? I don't know. Maybe it is. Let's back it up.
Your talent will make room for you. If Jayden Ivey was averaging 20 points and 10 assists right now, 20 points and 10 boards right now, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But because in January of 2025, he broke his left fibula. And then in October of 2025, he had arthroscopic knee surgery. And then again, he's missed the last 2 weeks he had missed starting in February 21st after getting traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. As a result, averaging 11 points and 3 assists, his talent is not making room for him. Plus, if you're in the training room, we do not necessarily want to hear from you. We want to just see you recovering. So from a sports perspective, starting there, athletes, you know, your talent makes room for you. The talent starts to diminish. We do not want to hear you more than we see you. That's number one. Number two, I don't like the path that Jayden Ivey is going down. And the reason I say this is this. Number one.
You see this guy with this sprayed on hairline. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, let's stop.
Jayden Ivey's been through a lot. If you hear what he's talked about, he was sexually molested as a child. He had a porn addiction while he was married. He's self-admitted that he was abusive towards his wife and his children. These are all Jayden Ivey's words, not my own. And so Jayden Ivey is also acknowledging like he's a struggling individual or an individual that has struggled. So let me acknowledge that, acknowledge the emotional and the interpersonal aspects as well. Anybody that's been to therapy understands things that happen to you as a child, they impact you as an adult. Now let me talk about the biblical aspect of it.
All right, so now he's saying he's going to talk about. Now he's saying he's gonna talk Bible. So that's y'all go outside. Go outside. He's saying he's gonna talk Bible. This is the part that I'm interested in the most, and then we'll close this video out.
Because Jayden Ivey also has to understand that not everything that's legal is going to be biblical. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Also have to understand you have to be wise, discerning, and tactful as to how you speak and when you speak and who you speak to.
I don't disagree with that, right? You do have to be wise. You do have to practice discernment. You got to be careful about how and when you speak. I don't disagree with that, but I don't think Jayden Ivey was concerned with that. I don't think he was trying to preach. I think he was trying to send a message and express his displeasure with having it one way, right? They want it to be one way. They want to be, y'all want us to respect a particular group without that same group respecting us back. That's hypocrisy. That's bullying. I don't like bullying. My father taught me against that. My father taught me against thieving. My father taught me against bullying. Very serious about that. He was very, very serious about that. Wasn't cool with no thief. Wasn't cool with nobody being no bully. He taught me some bad things, but some bad things too. But you know, he taught me to get angry at some things that probably wasn't worth it. But in general, he wasn't cool with that bullying stuff. He wasn't cool with that thievery stuff. So I'm not cool with that. And I don't like the new bullies are in town, and y'all know who I'm talking about. But I'm not giving someone an opportunity to clip me. So not yet. So the new bullies are in town, and I don't like it.
Jayden Ivey, if you want to quote Paul in Corinthians, Paul wrote what he wrote to the church in Corinth. He didn't necessarily write what he wrote to the church in Ephesus or the church in Galatia.
All right. I'm not even going to preach. That's a lie. That's a lie. We got scripture where Paul says, share this letter with those in Corinth. We got scripture where Paul says, share this letter with so-and-so, share this letter with so-and-so. The book, the Bible, the holy books are put together for a reason. Right, I just can't afford to get in that. It's 9:35. I've overstayed my welcome here, so I can't afford to get into that. But that's just not true. That is factually not true. Just because Paul wrote something entitled the Corinthians doesn't mean it wasn't applicable to the rest of the Christians. Hence why we got the book collected and brought together, and now we read it all. This guy's a loser.
In the same manner, Jayden Ivey, you got to use discernment of when you speak and who you're speaking to. If your job and your goal is to emulate Jesus, also understand when Jesus saw the woman who had committed adultery, he said, go and sin no more. He didn't then try to extrapolate every single sin and every single man she has slept with adultery.
I mean, this is completely irrelevant to the point that Jayden Ivey was making. It's completely irrelevant. He said, go and sin no more. Yes, go and stop sinning. He said, where are your accusers? Where are those who condemn you? She said, I have none. He said, well, neither do I. I'm not going to condemn you either. But go and sin no more. Like, what are we talking about here, bro? He forgave her for the sin, but he also warned her, you better stop it. He did say, stop it.
So I will just start by saying, one, understand there's a difference between legal and biblical. Two, Jayden Ivey, make sure you tend to your mental and emotional health if indeed there's anything going on, because you have been very vulnerable about your struggles previously. And then three, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to God what's God's. That's biblical if you want to talk biblically.
Imagine being able to build anything.
I don't get the point he's making with render to Caesar what is Caesar's, right? What's your point? You're supposed to follow the rules of the NBA. Is that your point? I guess, man. I guess my final thoughts on this. It is utterly despicable. It is hypocritical for any disenfranchised group of people or any group that was once disenfranchised. It is utterly despicable. And it's disgusting behavior to get your rights and then become a bully later to the same group that you were crying about that was bullying you. You know, there were a lot of Christians, a lot of so-called Christians that helped the LGBT community get their rights. There were a lot of so-called Christians that helped blacks get their rights. And there were a lot of so-called Christians that helped women get their rights. And it's so crazy because there was a lot. Again, these are all Christians by name, of course, not Christians by character. But anyways, Christians led a lot of that. And in return, Christians are probably the most watched group of people when they say something that is opposite or not in support of, even if it's not condemning. If they say something not in support of the LGBT community, they're probably the most penalized group of people. On top of that, the people online, not only are they highly critical of the person that said the disparaging comment to the LGBT community, they're extremely critical to the person, to the group of Christians in general. They get extremely critical criticize heavily the group of Christians. They say very, very hateful things online. I see it all the time. And no one's taking a screenshot of what they're saying and canceling them. But on the flip side, when I see people respond on there and then say very disparaging things about the LGBT community in response to people saying horrible things about the Christian community, I see a plethora of people online saying things such as, I'm going to screenshot this and send this to your employer. Crazy things like that. It's wild. My call is to, I hope this video gets to the right person or the right people that need to see it. Christians need to mobilize. We're under attack, as we always have been. And if you identify as Christian, you get canceled. That will stop. That will stop if the Christians come out in numbers and stop putting support and money into the businesses. Like, take an active stance when these companies do this. When the NBA does stuff like this, take an active stance to protest it. Make it muddy. We got to make it muddy. They're fighting with mud. We got to fight with mud. There ain't no sin in that. There's no sin in that. We're not breaking the law. The Bible says to obey the laws and magistrates of your land. We have the right to peacefully protest. There's no biblical law against that. My call is for us to mobilize. Christians can't do it alone. Strength in numbers. Got to mobilize. We got to support people that had the balls to come out and say things, or had a spine to come out and say things that are hypocritical of these groups, because that's the only way we get our rights back as a people, is if we mobilize the same way they're doing. Anyways, 10 minutes past. I got to go. I wanted to have some more closing remarks, but my point is, I hope Jayden Ivey, I hope he doesn't bow down. I hope that he is financially okay. I hope he's got himself set up in a financial position to carry on his lifestyle, right? He's probably not going to be able to live the way he's living now, and that's fine. But to be able to make a living, take care of himself, take care of his family, I hope he's able to do that. I hope he's going to make the wise business moves to do that, and I hope he doesn't bend the knee to the NBA. I really hope there are Christians that mobilize and come out and support this man. That said, y'all have a good night. I will see y'all again this week, God willing. Y'all have a good night, and I appreciate those that tuned in and those that will tune in later. It's great to be back on live with y'all. Good night.